Welcome back. You're watching Today here on eNCA. The presidency has clarified statements from President Cyril Ramaphosa that South Africa will be exiting the International Criminal Court. Now, it says the country remains a signatory to the Rome Statute. In fact, yesterday, in a state visit by the Finnish president, Ramaphosa stated that the governing ANC had resolved to quit the ICC over, quote-unquote, unfair treatment. The presidency says the comments were made in error. For more on this, I'm joined now by Professor Malte Brosig, an international relations expert at Wits University. Let's start the conversation right there, Professor. Why the about turn?
Well, it looks a little bit like a déjà vu from 2015. I think the viewers might remember the Bashir case when al-Bashir was traveling to Johannesburg and there was an international arrest warrant from the ICC here. Then we entered a discussion on if South Africa and how South Africa should actually de-sign, actually ended up with the country not de-signing. So it looks like a bit of this is actually repeating right now.
And just let's put it clearly and simply for our viewers this afternoon. Should South Africa arrest Vladimir Putin should he set foot here in August?
There are different perspectives of how one can see this. Well, if President Putin should decide to travel to South Africa, which I think is not really 100% clear, I really think that there's rather only a slight chance that he is coming, given the war in Ukraine. But I would reformulate your question and then ask, why should war criminals not be prosecuted and arrested? But of course, in real life, there are other consequences in here. And I think most countries would be extremely reluctant in arresting a sitting head of state, independent of the fact if it's justified or not.
And just realistically speaking, Professor, I mean, if we were to pull out from the ICC altogether, how long would that process take?
Yeah, I mean, there are also some lessons that we can learn from last time, so 2015. And, well, you have to satisfy two procedures here. So one is the internal domestic one in South Africa. And obviously this also has to go via parliament and so on. And then the other one would be that's written in the Rome statute. And taking everything together, you simply cannot withdraw from the Rome statute within a few days, weeks or months. So this takes more than 12 months, everything put together. So if you want to withdraw basically today, maybe end of next year might be realistic.
And when we speak about our international relations with our trade partners and countries whom we are quote-unquote friends with, would those relationships be affected in any way?
I don't really think they would be affected. Internationally, South Africa is rather seen as being close to Russia and China, also given its BRICS and environment and partnership here. And I think most countries don't really want to link judicial and international criminal questions with questions of trade and politics. So I don't really expect that there would be any immediate response. There would certainly be more of a media response, and questions would be asked why it is that South Africa again talks about the withdrawal from the ICC Rome Statute.
And of course, we've just seen comments from the ANC's Secretary General, Fikile Mbalula. He's just in a nutshell saying the ICC is not being fair. Can you contextualize that for us, Prof?
Yeah, this is of course a longer and bigger and broader debate. Again, we can bring different perspectives here into play. First of all, the ICC, so international law works in the way that it can be applied to you when you consent to it. So it's based on voluntary consent. Then we have to look at the number of countries that have signed up to the Rome Statute. And from the beginning, there was no universal. That means basically that the reach of the court is mostly limited to those countries who have signed and ratified the Rome Statute. And we can see that certain countries are not part of the Rome Statute, like the US, but also China or India. And in Africa, it's the majority of countries that have signed up, but not all of them. So a problem of the court from the very beginning is that it doesn't really have universal jurisdiction. Now the interesting question is, what should be the consequence of the absence of that universal aspiration here? Should we say that we have to wait until everyone signs up? Then you have to wait 3 or maybe 2 centuries, and you can not really have international criminal justice system here. Or are we operating with a system that still needs to be better and better tuned? And I think the common sense assumption is that although the ICC doesn't have that universal jurisdiction and it still has to improve, it is providing a very important, it's making a very important contribution to international criminal justice here. And if we would not have an ICC right now, we would have to think about how we can apply international criminal justice. I guess that would be difficult without this particular court.
Professor, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. That was Professor Malte Brosig, an international relations expert at Wits University.